Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. The other day I received my copy of the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, and I wanted to get cracking with painting straight away, doing the quickest, dirtiest paint jobs I could, so that I would have painted miniatures for any subsequent videos I may do on this particular game. So I started with the Draugrs, and in this video I'm going to show you how I did those. And just to stress, this was a very quick paint job, just to get paint on these miniatures. And I feel I should mention as well that these miniatures were actually quite fiddly to put together. They were cut up in awkward ways on the sprues, had some very small parts, and were just generally a bit of a pain. And when they've gone together, they look good, but there are certain points where the detailing is a little bit soft, particularly on the face of this one. He has a beard, which causes me some trouble later on. But anyway, having sprayed it with Corax White, I'm going to start by layering Monster Brown onto the scraps of clothing around the Draugr's waist. This is going to be 2 thin coats, just to get a good base coverage. We're going to be relying mainly on washes for these guys. They're supposed to look dirty and old and mouldy and decrepit anyway. So all I'm doing is layering that brown on and being careful not to get it over Corax White areas on the skin. And then I'm switching to Rakarth Flesh, and I'm going to use Rakarth Flesh on the loincloth, which is hanging down below the other items of clothing. And I also end up using it on the hair on some of them, and I will eventually use it on the beard for this one, although in the video you will see me using orange because I tried something which didn't work out, but I'll talk about that more in a moment. Next we're using Dawnstone, and we're just going to layer the belt around the waist of the Draugr. Just being careful again not to get it over any of the areas we've already painted. The leather belt weaves in and out, and there are some metal clasps that we will paint afterwards as well. There's not actually a lot of painting involved in these guys, there's minimal. I was able to get them painted up very quickly indeed. So here I'm switching to lava orange, and I put it on the beard, and I also tried to paint hair on this one because I wasn't sure whether he had hair or not, because like I say, the detailing on the head and the face of this particular miniature is not very clear. Subsequently, after I've shot the video, I did go back and I overpainted the beard and the hair with Corax White, and then I painted the top of the head in just a skin colour so he had no hair, and then I redid the beard with Rakarth Flesh and then a wash, just because I wasn't happy with how this orange beard turned out. But my plan was to do a thin coat of lava orange and then overwash it with some washes to make it look brown and darken it up. But there wasn't enough detailing in the beard, it just looked weird. So I wasn't very happy with that at all. And I have left it in the video just to explain why. For the rest of the video, this miniature is going to have a very ghastly orange beard. And then in the final shot of the video, he won't anymore. And that's why. Because I'm a rubbish painter and I made a big mistake. So next I'm using Leadbelcher, and I'm just going to pick out the belt buckle and the loops. There's some metal loops that the belt goes through, and of course we will also put that on the sword. I didn't go to town on the sword for these. I tried to keep them quite minimal, so I've actually painted the blade and the hilt all in Leadbelcher, all in the same colour. And then I switched to Reikland Fleshade here, and we're going to do the skin here. So we're just layering Reikland Flesh over the miniature, and for this one I kind of went a little bit too heavy on the Reikland Fleshade. I was a little bit lighter with the other 2 Draugr in the set, and they turned out a little bit better. But this was my learning miniature, and yeah, I put a little bit too much on. Although it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because it just means they have slightly different skin tones. And I will apply some additional washes anyway, just to mottle up that skin a bit more. So next I'm switching to Agrax Earthshade, and I'm applying that to all of the clothing areas. So the loincloth and the tattered clothing. And then I will also dab little bits of it onto the skin in certain areas to make it a little bit more mottled and a little bit more discoloured, to have variations in that skin tone. And I will also apply it over the whole of the sword, and that's just to take that metallic shine off of it. This is supposed to be a Draugr blade that's been under the ground in a tomb for a long period of time. I'm now switching to Athonian Camoshade, and I will use that just on certain areas of the flesh, just to, again, mottle it up a little bit more to make it look a little bit more undead, not healthy. And I applied some to the hair, because at this point I was just trying to make the hair look decent, and I just couldn't, so there's that as well. Next, I'm switching to Corax White, and I'm going to layer a little bit of that into the eye sockets, and that's just to provide a lighter colour to work with some other paints over the top, because I'm switching to Temple Guard Blue, and I'm going to fill the eye sockets with that blue. It's quite an icy bright blue, and I wanted to get a sort of ethereal glow to the eyes. I'm not entirely sure I was successful with that, but it doesn't look too bad. So we use the blue. I then put a drop of blue tone into the sockets as well, and again that's just to try and create that sense of a glowing blue in the eye sockets. And I also put blue on just the blades of the Draugr swords, so not on the hilts at all, just on the blades, just to give them a little bit more of a distinct coloration rather than just looking purely metallic and a little bit dirty. I then switch to Nuln Oil, and the Nuln Oil goes onto the hilt and the handle of the sword. So you've got an entirely metallic looking weapon, but you do have different variations in the metallic tone. So the hilt will look darker, the blade will have that blue sheen to it, and it just looks a little bit ethereal, a little bit otherworldly, and a little bit like something that you might find in a magical tomb somewhere. Finally, I'm going back to White Scar, and I am just dotting in the eyes. I'm putting a tiny pinpoint of white right in the center of the blue, so we have a very bright center, and then it goes out to the blue that I've layered on already. And that's it. Those are finished. As you can see, I've subsequently put some bases on these. I've glued some rocks on, and then I have painted it with a combination of sterling mud and astro granite, and then I will, after I varnish these guys, they will get a little bit of flock or grass tufts or something, just to add a little bit more interest to them there. And I don't think they look too bad. They're not winning any awards. They are very quick paint jobs, but it gets them to the table, and they look a little bit like Draugr, like you might get in the Skyrim video game, which is what I was hoping to achieve, really. But that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you've liked the video, please consider pressing that like button. If you really like the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.